Oh, we're back, baby. I hope everyone's vacation was swell and they've relaxed, and now their brain is ready to absorb all of this awesome and relevant history. So I want to do like a little review, some context, things like that. All those facts that maybe like we learned in class or we read about or whatever that's like buried under Miami sand or wherever you were. I'm going to bring that up. Okay, we're going to bring it up. We're going to start with the. Oh, I just kicked my charger. Okay. We are going to start with the Tea Act of 1773. Of all the acts, the Tea Act is one of my favorites because I like when the government tries to manipulate the people, but those educated New Englanders are like, wait a minute, I know stuff because like I open books sometimes, so you can't trick me. The Tea Act of 1773 took away the tax on British tea. So you would think everybody would be so happy. Oh my God, we don't like taxes, no taxation without representation, blah, blah, blah. But if it takes away the tax on British tea, it leaves the tax on what? It's like Dora the Explorer. Now you have to answer. It leaves the tax on colonial tea, on American tea. So if there is a tax on American tea, but no tax on British tea, going with the Tea Act of 1773, what's cheaper? British tea becomes cheaper. So New Englanders are like, wait a minute, we've been boycotting your tea due to this whole tax, no taxation without representation thing. And now you're making British tea cheaper. You're manipulating us. You're tricking us into buying your British tea. We don't want to. So on December 16th, 1773, the Boston Sons of Liberty, right? Remember, the Sons of Liberty are groups of men in every colony that meet in secret to complain about the British. So the chapter in Boston met. They drank at Sam Adams's tavern at his bar. They dressed like Native Americans, and they went onto British ships and threw 342 crates of British tea into the harbor. No, the ocean did not turn to tea. No, the tea is not there anymore. But it was like over $1 million worth of tea. And this is known as the Boston Tea Party, but wasn't called that till like 100 years later. When King George III in Britain heard about this, he was like mighty angry. Like, can you not throw my tea in the harbor? And he passes a bunch of laws to punish Massachusetts because this happened in Boston, Massachusetts. These laws are only passed in Massachusetts. They don't affect the other 12 colonies. These laws he called the Coercive Acts. Coercive is when you coerce someone, you're trying to get them to do what you want them to by like forcing them. The Coercive Acts were called the Intolerable Acts in Massachusetts because they were intolerable. The colonists felt like they couldn't stand them. It took away Massachusetts' rights to self-govern. It took away their elected assembly. It told them like that you can't meet anymore. What else? There was like something that was important in there, but I should have written this down. It was also the Quartering Act was a part of it, where Massachusetts colonists had to house and feed British redcoats who were often rude and obnoxious, and like they didn't want soldiers in their house that they didn't know. So these intolerable acts passed in 1774 really made Massachusetts feel sad. As a result, all of the colonies sent delegates. A delegate is an elected representative to a meeting called the First Continental Congress. It was called the First Continental Congress because it's the first time they're meeting. Continental just means land that is attached, like the 13 colonies, and a Congress is a meeting of elected representatives. And the First Continental Congress met to discuss the Intolerable Acts. How can we help Massachusetts? It is the first governing body for all 13 colonies. The first time all 13 colonies have one government making decisions for them. Representatives included George Washington, John Adams, Sam Adams, Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death, that guy. Lots of famous people. Ben Franklin was not there. He was hanging out in London, but he'll be back soon. So they met to discuss the Intolerable Acts. And they're like, how can we help Massachusetts? They decide all 13 colonies are going to boycott British goods, and each colony will go home and establish a militia. A militia is a group of volunteer soldiers that fight only during an emergency. And they agree to meet again in 1775, a year later.
created using Powtoon.